Hey there, everyone. It's Nia. I am live in Los Angeles for another episode of Fresh. Welcome to all the new followers and all our returning followers joining us every week as we broadcast live our Story Lab series. And this week we are continuing film with a Western. Today we are talking The Harder They Fall, which streams on Netflix. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nia Malika Dixon. I'm a writer, director, and producer here in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Baltimore, and I'm a Black Muslim woman. And the reason why we have this broadcast here via Audace Entertainment is because I created Fresh Story Labs to offer support and insight for creatives like myself who are marginalized and give you the tools that you need to create quality film and TV projects with the help of other film and TV projects that are already out there. So top tier storytelling already exists, and we can all learn from that. And that's why this broadcast exists. So, welcome. So, this week we are moving out of sci fi. We just completed sci fi last week, and we were talking about Dune. And this week we're talking about another film that is probably getting a lot of traction on all the social media, especially Twitter. The Harder They Fall, starring Idris Elba, Regina King, Lakeith Stanfield, and Jonathan Majors. Zazie Beetz. It is truly an ensemble film, and it does not disappoint. And if you've been joining us on a regular basis, you know that I love action, which is one of my most favorite genres, and I do believe Westerns fall under that category, and this one is no exception. And the film starts off with a very compelling opening sequence where we get to know a little bit of the backstory of our main character, played by Jonathan Majors, Nat Love, and his traumatic incident as a kid. A mysterious man enters his home at dinner time and kills his parents and leaves him scarred. Then fast forward to future Nat Love as an adult, and we get to see him as an outlaw and his gang, the Nat Love gang. The cool thing about this film is that it's it's what I loved. I love to see Black people on horses. I'm actually a big fan of horse riding and caring for horses, and horses are amazing creatures that I've been recently spending my weekends with several horses here in Los Angeles, and my horse trainer is in Compton along with the horses that he keeps in his on his property in Compton, and they are beautiful, and I just really admired the actors. The way they handled their horses in this film was just exceptional, and it was a sight that brought joy to my eyes because, the history of cowboys is that we've been erased as Black people. But if you are familiar with the term cowboy, it does come from Black people. So to see Black people in their element on horses against a beautiful backdrop of land, the landscape is gorgeous. It was just a good thing to see. I really enjoyed that. Well, we're all about story, so I want to jump right into story, which is what we're talking about. And the story itself was great. I really loved the story. As I said at the beginning, we opened the film with our main character, Nat Love, and his traumatic experience, and that sets off the whole story. It is true to the genre. It's more like a Golden Fleece story where the bounty is revenge. So Nat Love is out for revenge to get the man who killed his parents. And ultimately, he has gotten everyone who was involved with the killing of his parents up until the last man, Rufus Buck. And that's when the story really gets started, and we get to see all these characters. Now, one thing I do like is that at the beginning of the film, the filmmakers make it a note to let us know that the characters in the film are based on real people. There's Stagecoach Mary, there's Bill Pickett, Jim Beckworth, Nat Love, and a few others. My favorite was Treacherous Trudy, but I guess I'm biased. I'm a big fan of Regina King. And so the film starts off letting us know these are real people, however, the story is fictional. And Nat Love goes after his revenge against Idris Elba's character Rufus Buck with the help of his gang, all those folks that I just mentioned. And of course, there's Rufus's gang, including Cherokee Bill, played by Lakeith Stanfield. And I really enjoyed the dynamic of having good guys and bad guys and everybody's black. I love that. This is a film that has a great storyline, and all of the actors, all of the characters are black. And it's not about being black, and the story is that great. I just wanted to say that. Now, when it comes to story, you want to make sure that your characters are all compelling, and that's one thing I loved about this film. Every single character is compelling. And it's truly an ensemble cast. So all of the characters have depth. They all have clear motivations. We definitely get a chance to fall in love with each character in their own element and get to know them for who they are individually. And I love that. And the fact that each character stands out on his or her own is pretty cool. And then the story itself has lots of action. There is, I forgot to mention Delroy Lindo. So his character was an added, a very much, it made me think about Watchmen, because Bass Reeves is the character that Delroy Lindo plays. And if you've seen Watchmen on HBO, you'll know that there was a film within a film in that series where our main character in Watchmen was watching Bass Reeves' film. And there's history behind that, which I won't go into because I don't want to get off track. But it was a joy to see that character as well. And getting back to the whole action, all these characters come together, and there's gunfights, there's bank robberies, there's plenty of shootouts. And I really dig that, because as an action junkie, you're not going to be disappointed. There's plenty to watch in this film. And it's not gratuitous. It's all in service of the story, which is what you want as a creative and as a person in the audience watching. You don't want to watch a fight sequence or an action sequence and you're wondering why the heck are we watching this? Like, what does this have to do with the story? Because every different fight scene, every shootout, even the bank robbery that Nat Love is involved in, they all have to do with the story. And all the story elements are woven together so well. There's an element of love, there's an element of revenge. And so all of that plays out very well throughout the film, so that you are brought along as the audience and you know exactly why we're going through each scene. And you get lost in the story. There's ups and downs, there's twists and turns, and at the end there's a little twist that you're going to enjoy. If you haven't seen the film, I do recommend you go watch it. So just to recap, every single action sequence is in service of the story. And like I said, that's what you want. Your audience is not wondering why we're there. And not only that, each character has their own standout moment in several different sequences, which you will enjoy. Now, another thing I want to mention is the music. A lot of times with action films, the music definitely can take you out of the story. However, whomever the music supervisor was, they were very well chosen, because each song definitely punctuates the emotion, punctuates the feeling, gets you in that specific tone for each scene that was necessary. Every single song hit exactly the way it should, and that I really enjoyed. One of the standout songs was Black Woman, and that was placed in two different sequences. And I just want to give a shout out to that, because not only was each placement different, but it punctuated a different character and had a different meaning, even though it was for two different Black women, which I love. So seeing Black women shine in this film was another standout, and the characters themselves were not just arm candy, they had depth, and they also added to the story. So you're not going to be disappointed at all. You're going to love this film. I love this film. Let me just say that. So the story was compelling. We follow the gang along as they sought out to get revenge. And ultimately, along the way, they learn a little bit about each other. Not just Nat's gang, but Rufus's gang as well. And going back to Treacherous Trudy, I love that character and how her determination for her people was brought up and was a key element in one of the sequences. And just to like add to that, one of the most compelling westerns that I've seen since watching it, like before watching this film, is Rosewood. And Rosewood is a film that came out back in 1997, and John Singleton directed, and it was about this all-Black town, and seeing Treacherous Trudy talk about how ownership was so important for the Black people in that town just was a callback to that film for me. And it also made her character stand out, which I thought was so well done. I really enjoyed that. So if you've never seen Rosewood, definitely look it up and find out where you can watch it. It stars Ving Rhames and I believe Sally Rich. Let me just make sure I got that right. Ving Rhames, Don Cheadle, and I know it was directed by John Singleton, but like I said, it was 1997, which was at least 24 years ago. So, yeah, but definitely look that up and take a look at that, because to me, it was a callback. That sequence with Treacherous Trudy talking to the people in that town, which was an all-Black town, was a callback to Rosewood. And speaking of all Black town, one story element which I thought was pretty cute was the all white town that was featured later on in the film, where Nat went to go rob a bank. And literally the film was all white. I mean, the town was all white. The buildings were white. The horses were white. The people were white. I thought that was kind of cute. When it comes to story elements, I do, as a storyteller, I like to see stuff like that. So metaphorically and literally, it was an all white town. But getting back to the story elements that really stood out to me, the music, the performances were impeccable. The cinematography was really great. There were a few shots that I really admired and I took notes on, because I thought, well, that was an original shot. And then, of course, you have your traditional shots, you know, for Westerns. And the one that stood out to me that I really liked was, there was a shot that we get to see Rufus Buck's perspective as he's looking down on the town when Nat and his gang arrive to try to exchange money for Stagecoach Mary. And I like the way that the camera kind of flies through the window and over the town, and we get to see not only his perspective, Rufus Buck, but also it's like a lay of the land, but it also puts us as the audience in the position of Rufus's character as he's watching everything line up for him, so he thinks. So that to me was great. And like I said, all the actors, the performances were really cool. Regina King, Idris Elba, they never disappoint. Lakeith Stanfield was really good as Cherokee Bill. But I also want to point out Cuffy, that the character Cuffy was played by Danielle Deadweiler, I believe that's her name. And yeah, she was amazing. I really enjoyed that character. I liked her interactions with everybody, and to me she was a standout performance. So that I wanted to give a shout out to. But like I said, everything came together so great for this film. So things to take note on. If you're a filmmaker and you want to take some notes off of this film, take note of the setups, the sequences, and how they are positioned throughout the storyline, and the way that the tension ramps up, and then some issues are resolved, but then it leads into ramping up to more action. So it's never a boring moment. You are not bored at all. So all of the sequences are pieced together so well, and the story itself resolves at the end with a little twist, which, hey, if you're creating a Western and you want to put a little bit of spin on your story, make sure that you have something at the end as a button to kind of give your audience a little reward for sticking it out. Because, you know, sometimes, and this film was a little long, but sometimes films can go long and there is a nice surprise at the end that always is a good payoff. And this story does pay off well. And that being said, I'm going to close out and say The Harder They Fall was a very well put together Western action film with a lot of black people on horses, amazing music, beautifully shot, great costumes, all around great film. And the story itself never disappointed, and I think you will enjoy it. If you get a chance to watch it, definitely come back here and comment what you think. And if you have some other comments that you want to add to what I've said, please feel free to leave comments here, and I'll come back and let's keep the conversation going. I definitely enjoyed watching The Harder They Fall, and I recommend you check it out on Netflix. Next week, we're going to be talking about yet another film and talk about storytelling, and make sure that you join us live, because like I said, I love to have a conversation, and tell all your friends. We are definitely going to be wrapping up this series in a couple of weeks, but I do want to say that the next iteration of Fresh will involve several other elements, including bringing some of you on here to talk about your film projects. So if you are a filmmaker and you want to talk more about film and TV that you are creating, definitely send us a DM, and let's get that started. All right. Now, last week I did mention that I was going to talk about something else that goes along with this video series, which is a book series that is in the works to accompany these videos. So right now I am putting the finishing touches on our workbooks that will accompany this video series. So if you are a Black creative and you want to take this even further and draw from some of the stuff that we've been talking about, all of the story elements, all of the things that make a good story, definitely stay tuned, because I will be posting a link where you can get workbooks that go along with this series, where you can actually draw from all of the things that we've been talking about and apply them to your own project. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for fresh workbooks that will be coming soon, and I will definitely be giving away some free stuff to go along with that. So follow us here if you're not, on Audace Entertainment on Instagram and on Twitter at AUDAZENT, Audace Ent. And also make sure you're following me on Twitter as well, because that's where I usually am. And we could talk film and TV there as well. All right, guys, I will catch you on the next broadcast and see you next week. We're going to be talking about yet another film. And if there are some films that you want to talk about, DM us and let us know. All right, I'll catch you on the next broadcast. Thanks for joining. Take care. Bye.